Hey everyone, I'm Sherry with A Girl and Her Dog Coaching and Consulting. And probably by now you know me pretty well, but it might look a little bit different in my background. I did a little overhaul this weekend. I have been working on getting so many different things going in my business adventures that I needed to do a little bit of organization. And I actually wanted to come and talk to you about that today. So, as I mentioned in the last workshop that I provided, I was going to come in to the YouTube channel a little more often and give some free workshops, some free tips and tricks and strategies, and different ways that I just kind of have organized or worked through my own life in hopes that it would help any one of you, just with one little thing. If it makes a difference for just one person in one little piece of their life, then I've done what I set out to do. So, just as a reminder, as I started A Girl and Her Dog Coaching and Consulting, my whole mission, my whole vision for this is that one, I can become that trusted, valued leader in this realm of my life, just as I have done in the world of education. I've spent 28 years in that world and, with lots of learning and different experiences and hard work and perseverance. I have to say that I've had a pretty successful career as a public educator. And so now I'd like to take all of those strategies that I use to build myself up in education to bringing support to women in the real world. Women like me, women who may have had some or little support along the way. Not that I haven't had people in my network, but when you grow up in outs with your own biological mother, life is different for you. When you grow up in a home that's a little bit different than how you are as an adult, that takes a little bit of pivoting and learning and working through that. I always remember as a child thinking, if I could have a home on a golf course, I know that I've met all of my goals. And I don't currently live on a golf course, but my home right before this was on a golf course. And I just felt like, that hard work and that perseverance is what got me there. It wasn't because I am special. It wasn't because somebody handed it to me. It was the hard work that I put in to get myself to that point. Now, of course, I'm living in my dream home, which all pink and pretty and looks like a girl house because it is. Um, and it is exactly what I wanted to do. And I have that freedom to be able to do that again because of the hard work, the perseverance, the grit. Not every day was easy. And, nobody's life is 100% perfect. I'm not any different. I say that people have about 50% of their time, everything is going great, and 50%, maybe not so much. And you have to learn how to shift and pivot and deal with that adversity to be able to get you to the other side so you can then again enjoy those good days. So that was kind of the starting point. And then I just felt like if I can reach, and I don't even know where I came up with this number, except for the fact of I thought, if I can reach 5,000 women, I'm 51 years old, and who knows how long I'll have to work and go through all of this, but 5,000 women, if I can just make a difference for 5,000 women, then would I make my stamp in that coaching world? Now, will I stop at 5,000? Absolutely not. But that's my first goal, is to hit 5,000. Will I hit that in 2023? Probably not. Probably not. And so, as you heard in our last workshop, you have to set goals that are attainable, that will start building you to those big dreams, those big goals, and keep you on track. Because if you set those goals way too high, too quickly, then you're going to burn out. Then you're going to be overwhelmed and you're not going to be able to stick with it. One of the things I would say is right now, today, I'm recording this on January 15th. It's Marathon Day here in Houston. And I know you can't see it, but I got my 2020 marathon gear on, half marathon. I'm only half crazy. I didn't run this year, but I did get out and take a run this morning, and just thinking through all of the plans and the training and the perseverance that I've done on the years that I have run, it just kind of reminds me of setting these goals for 2023. And so I ask you, how are you doing on your goals? Are you still working through them? If you used my process, I know that you should have small milestones. You should have ways to celebrate the small wins. You should have set those goals that are attainable and that they're measurable. You know how you're going to get there. And then, as I attended a vision board workshop yesterday with a colleague in the Kingwood Business Women Network, we really talked about not just having the goal, not just having the dream, but then having the action plan to go with it. And we talked about that in the Girl and Her Dog workshop that I released right before the first of the year, right after the first of the year. So, those are important pieces. So today I wanted to talk with you a little bit about now what? Now what? How do we continue to persevere and how do we continue to get there? And one of the things that I think is important is to just kind of think about how we focus and how we organize. And I'm going to tell you a true story. I am very, very easily distracted. And when I became a principal, I knew that, and I was pretty young. I was 34 when I received my first principalship, and I knew that about myself already. Now, I'm very driven and I'm very type A, so I think that's a benefit for me. But I had to really get myself a system for how I organize myself, organize my thoughts, organize my schedule, organize my day. At the time, I was a mom. I'm still a mom. Don't discount that. But my daughter's an adult now. But I was a mom of a teenager. And my daughter was very involved in quite a few things. She was in theater, she was in choir, she was, one of the top students at her school. She was just very heavily involved in some different activities. And as moms, we all know that just our kids' schedules could run us, right? I have a very dear, dear friend, and I would always tell her, you're going to have to get something figured out, some kind of schedule, when she first became a mom, because it was overwhelming her. And it can do that. Those kinds of things can do that so easily. And so between that and the job and knowing that I wanted to be there for the big things in my daughter's life, I didn't want to miss out on those. Her dad and I did some tag teaming some, but he had a whole different world that he was kind of working through. And some of the responsibility would always come back on me. And so just that at that point, that's when I had to really pivot and know that, oh, we got to do some organizing here. Not only that, but running a school building. So at the time when I first took over that building, I had about 1,200 students, 11 something, which is a very large elementary school. I had 2 assistant principals, but that now all of a sudden I'm this brand new principal working through that and having to learn how to not only organize my own life, organize my personal life, but now set the systems to be able to organize for my assistant principals, my secretary, my receptionist, all of the people that were working for me. At the time, I think I had close to 90 employees, and really just make sure that we were on track, because the first school that I took over, just like the other 2, it was struggling, it was failing, and we had to make some changes pretty quickly. So going through that experience, I think, was one of the most powerful things that I've ever had to do in my life, because it taught me very quickly, get your act together, Sherry. You can do this. You're capable. But if you don't have those systems in place, you can be the smartest person in the world. You can be the most charismatic leader. But if you don't have those systems in place, things are going to fall apart. And I've seen that happen in people. So that kind of taught me and got me on the road to that successful leadership type of position. Now, was I successful every single day? No. Were there days that if you looked under my desk, and again, a true confession, would you see piles of things? There were. I don't do that now because now, after 16 years of sitting in that principal chair, you continue to learn and you continue to grow and you continue to perfect those systems. But what was really great about learning that and doing that is that every school that I took over, this one is my third one, and they all were in the same kind of situation where we had to make some pivots and changes so that the school could be successful. The systems continued to work. So it didn't matter if it was in this district, this state, this district, systems tend to work. Did we have to pivot a little, make a little adjustment? Maybe just a little bit, depending upon what actually the problem was at that school, but they work. So here's where the true story comes in. I did all of that work. I spent all of that time, all of that energy, all of that learning, all of those experiences to be able to get there. And when I decided at the beginning of 2022 that I was going to start this business on the side, I don't know what I was thinking, to be very, very clear. I think that I was thinking this will just naturally happen because I'm so good at it in my day job. But when you work, I work probably an average of 50 hours a week at the schoolhouse, and then would come home, and I was dedicating at least 10 to 15 hours per week to the business at the time, learning how to become a coach, setting up websites, starting social media, starting courses, trying to connect with people, starting the podcast, writing the book, all of the things. I guess I just thought it would be automatic. I don't know why. Looking back on it now, I think that was one of the biggest lessons I learned in 2022 is nothing is going to just fall into place. It's not just going to be because I can do this in this role, it's just automatically going to happen in this role. It took that experience of I was in complete overwhelm by November, and I had a few other things that were going on personally, but by November I hit a wall. It was right after the Thanksgiving break, so the last week of November, and I couldn't go anymore. And I actually felt it coming on right before Thanksgiving break. I was supposed to go to an event the Friday before, which was our last day of school. And I had to cancel. And I'm not one that doesn't fulfill my commitments. I'm not one that doesn't follow through on things. And I felt really, really bad. But I had to take care of me that day. It just had to shut down. And then again, didn't really do it well. And it really hit in that last week of November into December. I ended up getting sick. And I don't get sick often at all. I ended up just not being myself, not feeling myself. And so over the Christmas break, which we get 2 weeks, I really had some time where I could stop and say, what was the lesson here? Because, as we talked in that last workshop, you have to do that reflecting and you have to learn from the things that didn't go so well. And my lesson is I can't make assumptions. I can't just assume that because I do this here, it's just automatically going to happen here. You have to put in the work. And I think about the lottery recently, and that was such a big jackpot. And somebody won some money in Houston Friday, but that big jackpot, somebody won it. But that doesn't happen. That's not the norm of every day. Free money just doesn't come along. And I liken that to your business. What I learned is it's just not going to fall into your lap. You're going to have to work for it, just like you have to work for anything else. So think about, if you do follow me or you're going to become one of my clients, we're going to talk about change and pivoting and designing a life that you love. It's not going to just happen. We have to actually do the work. So we can't just assume. And that was my big learning. So that was my confession. So now let's talk about the ways I do some things. So I am very type A, as I mentioned, and my brain doesn't really shut off very well. I'm not a big sleeper. I really have to be settled, I think, in order to really get a good night's sleep. And a good night's sleep for me is probably about six hours. In order to do that, I can't be feeling the stressors. I can't be feeling like something is undone, something is weighing heavily on me or on my heart. I really have to process through those things. I do a couple of things to be able to do that. And this is part of the whole process that I use. But I make sure that I get physical exercise. And I am one, even at 51, I see different workout plans for people over 50. And, they're pretty minimal, 30 minutes, maybe. I don't know. Now I know people my age and older who do much, much more. They said today someone running the marathon was 84 years old. So clearly that's not for everybody. That's not your normal. But maybe this is more the average, or someone who's maybe just starting out. But for me, where I'm at in my world, mine has to be pretty intense. I have to feel like I've gotten rid of the stressors of the day. I've been able to push myself. I use my brain so much in the day, and not that the job isn't physical, but I'm not physically building something, doing something, sweating all day long, typically. And so I really have to be able to expend the extra energy and know that my brain, even when it's tired, can still control my body, my responses that I do. It's a weird thing with me, but it's just kind of how I process things. Plus, it gives me an opportunity, especially if I can get out on the road, just kind of see nature, breathe the air. No, I'm in Houston right now. The air is pretty good. It's a little more humid today, but some days it's very heavy and humid. But even on those days, to be able to feel the sun, to be able to get the benefits of that natural vitamin D, to be able to just not have to care for a little bit and notice the little things. My new neighborhood has a couple of different little man-made lakes that they're working on, and a little waterway where the green belt is. And so I just kind of lose myself in some of that scenery, just so that I can calm. It's just a sense of calm. I think that is important. And I think whenever you're in a situation where you are organizing, thinking, pivoting, changing, processing, you've got to find that peace for yourself, so that when you're doing all of that hard work, you're fresh. You feel like you can go ahead and move forward. Because even on the days that I come home from work and I always get the dog out for a walk, and that takes about 30 minutes as well. But even on those days when it's not quite as strenuous, it's a little harder for me to get started up working again. But on the days that I put the workout in, I feel it. I can do that. I can shower, get myself all freshened up again, and sit down and just power through. And that's when I tell the dog we're going to have a power hour, and get that work done. So that's kind of one way that I start to organize my brain so that I can start to process the extra work that has to be done. Now, I'm a big to-do list person, and I'm a big paper planner kind of girl. So I use the Happy Planner, and I like it to be cute. I mean, this is mine for this year. And of course, it's backward for you, but this is it. And you can see I have things organized and stickied and ready to go. Now, this has been a little bit of a different week, the upcoming week, so I haven't gotten everything on there. But you can even see where this week there's more, and I mark through and cross off and check off and process and work and organize and keep. And it's kind of where I keep all the little pieces of information I need to remember as well. So I have one for home and I have one for school. The one for school, I keep all of my staff attendance. I keep any of the big things coming up, mark that down. Now, I also keep digital calendars because this baby, it goes with me everywhere. I'm not anywhere without my phone or my watch. If I forget the phone, I've always got my watch and I can still access everything. Because for me, I get so heavily involved in things that I do need to have a couple of those reminders. But once I write things down, my brain is one of those that just kind of processes it. And then I typically remember it. So I sit down on Sundays and I just plan out the upcoming week. And I do that both for my staff at school, I do that for myself at school, and I do that for myself here in the business. And when I plan it out, I kind of prioritize each day so that, the things that are must to do, has to get done, those are going to get done. Those are priorities. And then there's the things that, yep, I really need to get these done, but they can be shifted around, moved around a little bit, just as long as they get done by the end of that week. And then I have those things that, if I have some extra time in my schedule this week, let's start working on this. I do try to stay ahead of everything that way because I work well under pressure. It's just my personality, but I don't prefer that. I'd rather be as proactive as possible rather than reactive. And, none of us are ever our very, very best when we're reacting. And if you're waiting until the day before to get started on something, I promise you, you're going to be in that reactive mode. And then once I put all of that together, I need to cross things off. As I start doing things, I need to cross them off. So I look at my daily schedule. I look at what everything everybody has put onto my calendar. School wise, of course, it's back to back to back. I even have to schedule restroom times for myself at school some days. But then, in the evening, I have to focus myself too and give myself the shut off time. So there are those parameters. And once I can see what those parameters are, then I can start building in all of the other pieces. So for example, I drop my podcast every week on Tuesday mornings. Now, when I record, typically I record on Saturday and then I polish on Monday and then I schedule it because on Sundays, I also put in some time to work on school kinds of activities. However, when we have a 3-day weekend like we do this weekend, I like to get a little ahead. It's one of those, if I can get to it, I'm going to get to it, types of things. So I can be a little bit ahead on that. So I write down, okay, it's going to release on this day. This is what the title is going to be. This is the episode number. This is what is happening. And then I jump back. Okay, in order to do that, I need to make sure that this is organized. This is where it is as well. I always put in when I'm going to write the blog. And that kind of keeps me thinking about, well, what am I going to write about this week? And typically I want to tie it either to the podcast or to the content that I've been posting on social media, which is another area that I really have learned. And I'm a little proud of myself because I kind of got it together for the last couple of months. I've been taking the last weekend of the month to sit down. I give myself 1 hour and I write out my social media posts for Monday through Friday. So I write 4 weeks. So 4 different posts, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then on the weekends, I give myself a little more flexibility because sometimes on a Friday night, I might be talking to friends and something might spark. Or on a Saturday morning, I'm cuddling with the dog, drinking my coffee, getting ready for a workout, and something might spark from there. Saturday afternoons, I always like to do a live on my Facebook. On Sundays, I kind of wait for some Sunday morning inspiration, just so that it's not always so rigid. I want my audience to know that I'm a real person as well. And if I am always so perfect, it's not going to be real and authentic. And I always said I was going to be real and authentic in everything I do in life. I actually even had a conversation with a fellow podcaster who is my guest this coming week on the podcast, and we were talking about, she said, I'm still working to get over that feeling of I need to be perfect. And I've been there, and I just said to her, my feeling is if we're so perfect, people won't relate to us. I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to say something wrong. I might use bad grammar. I'm a principal and I still get going and talking and in my own thoughts. And I might just blurt something out that's, and then I have to kind of retract a little bit. But again, if it's so perfect, is it really perfect? Is it really what we want? Is it really going to get us the no trust and be seen as a valued person rather than just a perfect person? It's the same thing with filters. When I put my pictures on, I don't typically use a lot of filters. Every once in a while, I'll use where I can change some backgrounds, or maybe some lighting if the lighting wasn't that great. But I try to stay away from a whole lot of filtering just because I'm me. This is Sherry Dixon. This is who you're going to get. I'm 51. I'm in the midst of menopause. I have aging skin. I have an aging body. I work a full-time job plus a side hustle. I'm not going to be perfect, but I try to do my very, very best every day. And that's what I want the world to see. So I sit and I schedule out those posts. And the reason I do Monday through Friday is because I need to get those scheduled, right? I don't have as much freedom during the work week as I do on a weekend to be able to sit and think and contemplate and write it out and that kind of thing. And then I just put it in a Google Doc. And that way each morning, and I plan out the pictures that are going to go with, and that way each morning I can just copy, paste, and stick it into my social media. I know I can schedule it out, but I haven't perfected that skill yet. And so it's just easiest for me. That way, if I need to change something, if something just, it might have felt right on the last weekend of the previous month, but now on the fourth Friday of the next month, I'm not feeling that anymore, or I've learned more and I want to give more, then I can always make those adjustments as well. So that's kind of how I plan that part out, plan out the calendar. And then I have definitely learned that I definitely need focus time. So for example, today, I spoke to my daughter this morning, and we always have dinner on Sundays and we have our plan, and neither one of us are working tomorrow. We're both in education and we have tomorrow off. And so we're having dinner, of course, tonight, and we need to do a couple of other things. So we're kind of planning that out. And she said, Mom, I'm going to get a pedicure. Would you like to come with me? And I had to decline because I spent yesterday doing things, organizing my office. Look how pretty it is back there. And at the vision board workshop. And so I didn't get everything done I wanted to get done throughout the day. So today I've got to do some laundry and I've got to do some organizing here with different things. I have to work on the podcast because I typically do that. I have to start thinking about the weekly newsletter because I'm trying to be very consistent with that. And I have to do the blog. So I just had to decline. I had to tell her, no, but we'll still meet for dinner. We'll still go do this, so that we can, I can have that focus time. So that focus time, it's protected. I map it out. I tell myself, and I know it's because my world is busy, but I think even when one or the other changes at some point in my life, I just know that let's get this done. Let's work for this amount of time and get this done. And what I've even started doing is putting my phone away when I do that. So when I said my phone is always with me, it's with me, but only for emergencies will I tend to my phone when I'm in that focus time. So I've heard the term power hour. Sometimes I'll joke with Oakley and I'll say, okay, mama needs a power 45 minutes. I just kind of think through what's going to happen, how long is that going to take, and I give myself that focused time. And then, and this sounds like maybe, and again, remember I'm type A, but a little overdoing it, but I also have to kind of plan through social activities. And this is something that is a goal for me this year, is to get back to my social life. the piece of really starting a business, for those of you who know, or when you're making a big change, you want to be as consistent as possible. You want to really put your energies into it. And so sometimes we can get to a point where that's all we're focusing on. And I don't want to say that that's where I'm at, but I also have to remind myself to schedule in some time to be with my friends, to be with my daughter, to be, with people where I'm not having to think everything through. Now, sometimes my new circles, so with being this new independent beauty consultant, I have a new circle of people. And in that circle, we're going to talk about great things about being a woman. We're going to talk about skincare and makeup, but we're also going to enjoy the time together. They refer to it as a sisterhood. It's just, we're here, we're women, we work together, but we also can enjoy time together, learn from each other. I still feel that that can be a social time. I went to a pool party on New Year's Day, and even during that time, seeing some of my friends, I talked about my goals for the upcoming year because my friends wanted to hear that, and I wanted to hold myself accountable and make those goals public with the people that are nearest and dearest to me. So I don't want to say that social is just going to be all about rah rah woohoo kind of thing. Sometimes it might. Like, I'm looking forward to March. March, of course, is NCAA basketball tournaments. We have the opportunity to have the Final Four here in Houston. It is one of my favorite sporting events, besides the Houston Marathon, of course, to watch. And I've only been able to watch it on TV, but I have this great opportunity to be able to purchase some tickets and attend that. And I don't want to miss that. Now, am I going to talk about business during that time? Probably not. But could I? Possibly so. What if I run into somebody that's talking about, they need support or need help in different things? So you just never know. But that social aspect of your health is really important. And I think we learned that in the pandemic, because we have to have this well-rounded health and wellness plan for ourselves, emotionally, mentally, physically, our nutrition, but then also that social health, because we're human. We've been created to interact with each other. And sometimes it can even just be virtual, as well. Then I always try on Sundays as well to do some reflecting time. I look back on the week, see what worked, make sure I mapped out everything, make sure I got all of the priorities done, make sure that the priority Bs, are in the works and they're on track for what they need to do. And then, of course, create that next schedule for the following week. Sometimes I'll have things already kind of penciled in, and I do everything in pencil, y'all. Everything is in pencil because life is life. It happens. And, I don't want all those cross outs. I like to have, nice and neat and organized, but it also keeps my brain nice and neat and organized. So it just works for me. So to recap, the most important things to do is I really feel like it's making sure that your mind is open to what you have to work on. And that can be done with a little physical activity, some maybe more intense activity, something that gives your brain a little bit of a break so that when you're ready to work on the work, so to speak, whatever that work is, you're ready to do it. That you give yourself a schedule, that you really focus, avoid the distractions, and really, really give yourself a schedule. Even back in the day when my daughter was still at home, everybody knew that this time of the day was the time of the day that I was going to be doing this. This is when I was going to do my training runs. This is when I was going to do my schoolwork. This is when I was going to do XYZ. At that one point, I was selling some protein shakes through a company, and I needed those focused times to be able to do the work that was involved in that. Then you also need to really map it out, schedule things, plan it out, make your to-do list, and set your priorities. And if you do that ahead of time, then you're more likely to be very proactive on everything rather than reactive. And then finally, just think your month through even. Typically, like I said, I do things weekly, but having that time at the end of each month, how did the month go? What am I doing well in? What do I need to learn from? How do I need to pivot? And then really get those kinds of things organized, and being ahead on as many things as you possibly can will definitely set you up for the most success. Now, next time on the workshop, a girl with a girl and her dog. That's what I think I'm going to call it, the workshop with a girl and her dog. I'm going to talk about empty nesters. It's been something that's been weighing heavily on me because I recently became an empty nester. And as I was at the vision board event yesterday, I had a profound thought, and for the first time, I verbalized it to others. And I'm excited to share that with you and just talk about how, it's a pivot, it's a change. It's really hard when you're used to having your children or your child around, and all of a sudden they're not there anymore. And your children are such a big part of you. Like for me, she's my whole world. And learning how to adjust is healthy. Learning how to pivot is healthy. It doesn't mean you don't love your children any more or less. It doesn't mean you're a good or a bad person. This is what reality of life is. And so I want to spend some time. So I'll be back next week, and we'll talk about empty nesting on the workshop with a girl and her dog. So until next time, thank you for joining me. Please share any of this information with people you know. I want to give this as a gift, as ways for me, as I mentioned before, to have that impact on women all over the world. And I do not mind you sharing this. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't had a chance yet. And please let me know. Give me feedback. Let me know what you think. If it works for you, tell me. If there's something you would want to see me talk about, let me know. Of course, within reason. Let's be real. We don't want anything ugly or weird, but I really want to be able to start building this piece into the business and be able to provide this type of opportunity. And again, if you are interested in working with me through my coaching and consulting services, I do leadership coaching, I do mentoring, I do one-on-one coaching, but I also have a group program, actually a program, an online program that's launching called Confident, Courageous, and Clear, Learning to Live Life on Your Own Terms. And it is amazing. I'm just so excited. I want to get that out into the hands of people, because it really is a program that will empower middle-aged women like me, to now figure out what they want in life and how to get it. I've been through that work. It took me a long time to get there. I started at 40 when I got divorced, 39, and it took me 10 years. But once I perfected that system, I don't want it to take that long for other women. I want you to be able to be on track to live your best life. So reach out to me. You can find me at www.findagirlandherdog.com. You can find me on Facebook at Sherry Dixon or A Girl and Her Dog Coaching and Consulting. And we're also on Instagram at A Girl and Her Dog 19. All right. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, whatever day you're watching this. And again, reach out if you need some support. Let us know how we can help you, and get yourself organized, because it's really going to help you do big things in 2023. Bye.